enjoy that. Ideal angle for the sprocket is going to be welded halfway, and ideal angle for the height is going to be halfway. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to actually, maybe not that piece, it's kind of junky, but I'm probably going to weld a little platform on the bottom of the pipe, and then weld the bracket, the axle bracket on top of that platform to give me a little more surface area to weld to. And then I think after consulting with my dad, he made a good point of this is going to have a lot of torque on it, and it would probably be a good idea to really just chop off the back of the frame, which I didn't really want to do, but he made a good point. This probably wouldn't hold up just because of all the welds that I have, and they aren't very good welds, and it's really just messy where I had to cap it off. It might not show in video as much as it does in person, but it's very messy, and it would probably benefit from just chopping it off and welding on new pieces. Plus, this is like 1/2 inch tubing, and this is 3/4 inch tubing, and so I mean this isn't going to be able to hold as much strength, and it's welded here, pinched down on this side to fit this weld instead of actually cut to fit around the pipe. And then this pipe, was the axle initially until I chopped it off. And then I have pieces like where the motor mount was, I kind of have bits left that I didn't grind all the way off right there, which I'm not going to cut it back this far. I'm probably going to have to cut this off a little more. But this really is out of the way enough, it's not going to be a huge deal. But then I'll be able to put a cross member in like this, but further up, and I'll be able to mount my brake to that, and I'll actually be able to run my brake in the center of the axle. So I'll be able to mount, or I'll be able to put this bracket here, which is basically all it is. It's just a bracket to strengthen stuff up. I'll be able to move it back a little bit, and I'll be able to mount my brake caliper and run my brake on the center of the axle, which would be helpful in routing my cable as well for the brake. And then I'll probably put some gussets in, so like from here to this bracket, once it's moved up, I'll probably put a couple in there, and then probably put a couple back here or something like that, just to strengthen her up a little bit, so when I go into doing slides or ripping around, I won't be just instantaneously breaking the back of the frame off, which may or may not happen. And then I'll probably end up having to put a couple more brackets up in the front here, probably up in this corner, maybe up in here. I'm not really sure. I might just have to finish welding this up because I'm sure that'll strengthen it up a little bit. And then I don't know if I'll put brackets in this necessarily, just because I don't think it's going to be taking a whole lot of torque. Same with that side. I'm not sure. I might have to put another cross member in front of my engine plate, just to strengthen it up, because it's only going to have 2 points of contact instead of 3, because I don't think I'm going to build a whole arch around to mount that top. That just seems like a lot of work and unnecessary. So yeah, we're figuring it out. I don't know, but yeah, so basically what I'm gonna do here, I have same tubing that I used down here and right here. I'm going to bend 2 90s, weld them together roughly in the center, and then weld them to the frame here and here, and then that'll all be 3/4 inch tubing. and then I'll put my center bracket there or wherever it'll fit the brake properly, and then gusset it, and it'll be good. So let me show you what I'm doing with that. Alright, so I have this old frame that was going to be like a stretched four-wheeler, made into a go-kart, but it never got done. That was many years ago. But we kept the pipe because, you know, why would you get rid of good pipe? And so what I'm going to do, and it's coming into use many years later, I'm just going to chop it off here and then use these pieces, obviously not all of it because it's bent down there, but I'm going to start here, bend them into good 90s, but I won't be able to bend one whole piece just because I don't have a legitimate bender. I'm using a conduit bender, which isn't ideal, but I don't have a pipe bender and I'm not gonna go buy one. So I'll just bend two 90s, brace them together, probably put a piece of round stock in the joints, weld them together, do the same thing between this and the frame, and then put a cross member. Ooh, maybe this piece is even long enough, I don't know. Put a cross member, measure it out so I can fit my brake and everything, and then weld it up. And I'll be able to weld my axle on, and we'll have the axle mounted, the rear end looking good, and I'll be able to work on some brackets and whatnot. So yeah, let's get cracking, boys. Alright, so pipes cut, dog schmooped, and now I just need to measure them, bend them, cut them again, and weld them together. So, something beautiful looking in there. Not much better. That'll be alright. Alright. So, I'm looking for, I'll try to explain this the best I can. I just kind of figured it out yesterday. So basically, what I'm doing, where's my tape measure? Tape measure? I can never keep a tape measure. There it is. Grab my marker too. Alright, so basically what I'm looking for is where I want the center of my turn to be. So this bender, which is the bender I'm going to be using, bends each 90 degree basically 8 inches off the center. So if you put the end of the pipe here and the beginning of the bender and bend it around 90 degrees, the center of your 90 degree bend, so about right there, will be 8 inches from the end that you started. So we will put 8 inches about center of the bend, as you can see, our tape measure comes to just before the pipe here, but it is squished down, so we want to go back a little further, maybe about 10 inches. That's about what I measured yesterday, so 10 inches, and that'll be right there. So I think 10 inches is where we're going to shoot. So basically, how I would get 10 inches is stick the end of my pipe 2 inches out from the end of the bender. Bend by 90 degrees, which I noticed was not completely to the end. So I bent to one as a practice yesterday with a different piece of pipe. And I bent it around and touched the pipe to the backside of the bender. And that was too far. I bent it too far. So I got to kind of gauge. Don't want us to go too far. And then I'll be kind of screwed because I don't have a whole lot of pipe left. But basically that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to measure about 10 inches. That'll give me enough to play with up here. And then I will cut it and mock it up and see how it looks. Hopefully it will be correct. And then we will see where we go from there. Which would be just chopping this off and welding the new one on. So yeah, we're definitely gonna get rid of some junk though. I mean, I really hacked this together because I messed up my cut. This one isn't hacked together quite so bad. And there's a ball again. But still not very good. So this will definitely make it look a lot prettier, which granted this go-kart's not the prettiest looking thing in the beginning with, but it'll definitely look a lot prettier. Hopefully it'll function a lot better. Probably ought to go play with this dirty animal. I'll be back to show you how I bend these and hopefully show you right. We'll see. Alright, so what I'm going to do in order to get 10 inches from the center to the end is I'm going to give myself 2 inches off the end and bend it, and it'll be fine. Hopefully. Maybe. We'll see. Alright, so like I said a few times throughout this, coming in post-production here and gonna kind of give you a bit of a narration. So what I did, like I said, this was my second time really using one of these benders, so I wasn't really sure what to expect. So basically what I did here was marked out 2 inches with the tape measure off of the end of my pipe. I struggled to get it into the bender because I have no clue what I'm doing when it comes to one of these benders. I have like no practice at all with these. So what I did was I lined up the end of the bender with that line that I just marked, but I realized that it seemed a little long. It seemed like it was more like 3 inches, 3.5 inches than it was 2 inches. So I measured it again and noticed that it was in fact like 2.5, 3 inches off instead of 2 inches. So I moved the bender forward a little more and measured it again to make sure that it was indeed the correct length before I bent it. Because like I said, I didn't really have much pipe left here, so I'm kind of working with what I got. I don't want to make any more mistakes than I have to. So I'm basically just trying to get that lined up to where it is properly at 2 inches, and then I took my chances and started to bend. Now, as you can see, I'm having a bit of a hard time. I'm not really sure the exact technique that I'm supposed to be using. Really, I think my problem was I was using a little more foot action than I was arm action when it came to torquing this thing over. But I got to a point where it started looking kind of like 90. I was getting towards the end there, so I'm like turning it to the side and making sure that I am getting close. I do end up taking it off a couple of times, and I did that because I wanted to see where we were at, and I thought that was pretty close to 90 degrees. I'm kind of looking at it to see what it looks like. I took it over to the go-kart to try to match it up with the existing bends, see where I was at, if my two extensions were parallel with the go-kart. And I wasn't quite there, so I did end up having to put it back in the bender, which I was afraid that I would mess up if I ended up putting it back in there. I might like torque it at the wrong angle or something. But I readjusted it, got it back to 2 inches, and started bending it again, and it seemed to do just fine. I just made sure that my measurements were correct. Took and bent it a little more, and went back and looked at it again, comparing it to the go-kart,
Not quite.
and wasn't quite there.
Do a little more. There we go. That's better. It's parallel now.
Alright, so that one turned out alright.
So there's one.
Looks pretty good. Doesn't quite match this, but it matches it enough. So basically, which I didn't expect it to be perfect, because that is smaller diameter, so it would bend a little better. And I don't have the right bender technically, but it works. So let's do the other one. So basically the problem I ran into, and what you'll see later, is, which I kind of figured I would have that problem. The bender bends the 90 degrees at, it's not quite as narrow, I suppose. It takes more pipe to bend than what the existing frame already has. So the 90 degrees turned out to burn up more space, and it actually makes the rear end of the go-kart look completely different than what it originally looked like. So this time I am using a little more arm action than I am foot action, which is definitely making it much easier to get around there. And same as last time, I took it off looked at it, figured up where it was compared to the other one, and as you can see, it's bent out a little more than the original, so I stuck it back in and gave it a little more of a bend. Making sure that my measurements are correct before I started bending. Now, as you can see in the back there's a chicken walking up, and they have an obsession with cardboard. So if you hear pecking on cardboard, that's what they are. I eventually do end up chasing them away later on in the episode. Here I'm just a little bit off, so I smacked it off the ground to give it just a tiny bit more of a bend. And it's good. Alright, so they're both bent up. Oop. And now I need to find my center, chop them, weld them together. Alright, check it out. It's going to be kind of round in the back. It's going to be kind of funky. Though, it might make it stronger being round like that, which would be a plus, I guess. So now I need to mark my center there and chop these off, weld them together. It's going to look unique. I don't know if I'm gonna like it, but it'll be fine. So I'm gonna get these cut, probably tack them together, and then I'll chop this off once I know that this is set correctly. Dude, knock it off. Hey! So probably chop this off once I get the new piece welded together. Alright, I got the hoop cut, drilled, spliced in the center. Now it's time to cut off the back.
That's not a very good spot. There we go.
in place and ready to weld. It's gonna be kind of long now. But it should be stronger. Hopefully it'll be stronger. So I'll probably end up welding these, grinding them down, and then I think I might send a bracket, set that bracket right in here, right on the seam, to help it out a little bit, because I couldn't find pipe to fit the inner diameter of both pipes. So the extension is got a little bit of play in it. So I think I'm gonna end up having to put that bracket right here on my seam. Oh well, that'll be alright. Or maybe just before it, I don't know. Maybe like just here, right here. Something like right in there, right in here, just so I can really brace that point right there. So we'll see. And then my axle will probably sit back in here somewhere. But yep, looking good. It's getting there. Alright, all welded up. Except for the axle. The axle is just sitting on there, but it gives you kind of an idea here. Looks pretty terrible with them welds, to be honest. Good thing I got a grinder. Yeah, I don't know. The axle might sit back a little further than that. That's probably about where it sat when I initially mocked it up. Maybe a little further back than I would initially. But I might move it back just a little bit more. Or I might just leave it like that. Have a big tail off the end of it. I don't know. Definitely is a little longer now, which isn't really what I was looking for, but it won't be too bad. It won't be so bad. I think it would be cool though if I could bend these up. I don't think I could. If I could bend the back of it up just a little bit. Hold on a second. Chicken's eating cardboard again. But yeah, if I could bend the back of it up a little bit, and there's like a little bumper, that would look cool. But I don't know if I'd be able to do that. Unless I like heated it up or something, but even then it probably wouldn't look right. Wouldn't look very good. It'll be fine. As long as it goes. Yeah, that's where we're at for now. Alright, so I got the axle kind of mocked up here. Got it pretty much in line where I want everything. Granted, that's not going to matter a whole lot because there's a freaking panting dog that can't be quiet. So I got these this one, not these, but this new sprocket. Just came in the mail the other day, and it's significantly smaller than the original, as you can see. So this should make it easier to not run off the chain every time I hit a bump. It's a bit smaller on the tire. So I actually have some clearance now, which is good. Clearance always helps. So hopefully that will do me better. I also am getting my axle lined up here, and I'm gonna try to weld in these brackets. I noticed that I'm very off on the level, and so I'm gonna have to try to compensate for that in the frame, and get the axle as straight as I can. So I'm gonna try to straighten it up and down, maybe put a tack on one side, and then make sure that it's straight this side as well, which currently it is, perhaps. Maybe not. I don't know, but I'll figure it out here. And we'll get it tacked in, and then yeah, it'll be axle on. And then motor mount still needs to be done, and then cross strut needs done with bracing, and then I'll probably mount my brake. You can see the disc here. I think I'm gonna mount it right in the middle, just because, why not? Does it give me any advantage to mount it in the middle? Probably not, but why not? I mean, it looks kinda ridiculous. So that's probably what I'm gonna do. And yeah, we'll get there. Working on it slowly but surely. Alright, so I got my axle tacked in, and it's all pretty even. Boy howdy, was that a pain to get even. But the frame is level. The axle is level enough. And there's a dog. Always. There's always a dog. He's always making noise or getting in the way. And I think that's where we're gonna leave off for this week. I think we've done enough. Chopped off the rear end. Got dogs constantly in the way. Got the axle very terribly tacked on. But it's all even now, and I think I'm gonna clean up a little bit because it's a little bit of a mess. Lots of dirt and metal shavings and stuff, and I got a bunch of stuff stacked on the tractor, and I just need to do some cleaning up. So I think that's where we're gonna leave off for this week. Be sure to like, subscribe, ring the little belly bell. You know the deal. And yeah, I hope you come back next week and continue along with this wonderfully questionable project. Thanks for watching.